The US Open has celebrated their own home stars. 6 American semi-finalists across categories is phenomenal. And while the US command did create a lot of buzz, the noise around Jannik Sinner is loud. And not because of his tennis alone, the Italian star managed to evade a doping punishment right before the US Open started. This despite testing positive for a banned substance not once but twice. Sinner was let off, and that created a huge uproar in the tennis world. And with the 23-year-old just 2 wins away from his second Grand Slam title, both coming this year it would be, it is now getting to be a loud din. The world number 1 reached the semi-final earlier today, beating Daniil Medvedev in a 4-set showdown. Even with a minor hiccup in the second set, the Italian still managed to hold on to the match and beat the Russian 6-2, 1-6, 6-1, 6-4. With this win, he's the only top 10 player left in the Grand Slam, so all the spotlight is on Sinner. But that was the case even before the US Open Grand Slam began, because Sinner started the year on a high with a win at the Australian Open, world number 1, of course, after that, and 4 ATP Tour titles in the season so far. So it was expected to be another dominant year for him. But as the year progressed, the Italian failed at Wimbledon, the French Open, and even had to withdraw from the Olympics. In the middle of the slump, of course, came the doping scandal. So everything is riding on the US Open for Sinner.
I will now put this challenging and deeply unfortunate period behind me. It's an amazing city, amazing place to play tennis. So I want to enjoy as much as I can and hopefully have a good tournament.
The tennis world, though, was heavily divided on the verdict. Nick Kyrgios and others continued to hit back at the decision as they questioned the preferential treatment that Sinner had received. The under-fire world number 1 found some support in Rafael Nadal.
I don't believe in that Sinner wanted or meant to dope. Justice is justice, and we don't have to like it only when they decide what we want them to decide. If he hasn't been sanctioned, it's because the judge has clearly seen that he hasn't doped. I don't think they have judged him as innocent simply because he's the world number 1.
Some respite for Italian there, but given the rage fans and many in the tennis world expressed over the Sinner verdict, Nadal defending him was met with severe resentment. So clearly, even as Sinner was quietly notching up the wins, the jibes and disgruntled comments were not stopping. A tournament that Sinner expected to be a redemption of sorts has slowly turned into a very frigid cold zone, with every prominent voice in the tennis world accusing ITIA of getting this wrong. Now, you can understand the anguish someone like Simona Halep expresses, because Halep herself had to stay away from tennis for almost a year. Had ITIA been strict with Sinner and not accepted his reasoning, the Italian would have been watching the US Open from his home on TV screens instead of playing in it. While leading tennis players and his biggest competitors, Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz, didn't pick sides, Roger Federer's statement created quite the flutter.
I understand the frustration about has he been treated the same as others. I think we all trust that Jannik didn't do anything. But the inconsistency potentially that he'd have to sit out while they were not 100% sure about what was going on, I think that's the question here that needs to be answered. It's not something we want to see in our sport. This type of news, regardless of whether he did something or not, it's just noise that we don't want.
Federer's statement highlights why there is such an outcry over this subject. The anguish isn't against Sinner in particular, but the system that allowed him to walk away while others before him had to face the brunt of it. Sinner is of course stuck in the middle of this. His biggest quest then is to silence it all, shut the noise by doing what he knows and does best, which is win. Play good, solid tennis and win. The US Open title will not make it all go away, unfortunately, but it will be the redemption Sinner is hoping to earn.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for a future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
Across continents, one powerful news source.
Bringing you diverse perspectives on the issues that matter.
We go beyond the boundaries to give you that little extra about every sporting moment. So thank you for making Firstpost 5 million strong. We're counting on your support, and you can trust us to bring you the news unfiltered and unvarnished. Obviously today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies. What can you expect from this?
Hello, I'm Alison Green, coming to you from Durban, South Africa. Today we have a special show.
We'll start with a report on India's shifting nuclear posture. For the first time since India officially became a nuclear power.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost.